friends, welcome back to my channel. If you're new, my name's Amanda. Today I have two very fun Christmas recipes for you. I'm participating in a collab hosted by the Hodgepodge Life of Jessie about making recipes to do with Christmas movies you enjoy. So I've chosen How the Grinch Stole Christmas, and I've made two recipes that I think you're really going to enjoy. We have Who Hash and then the Grinch Cookies. So come along with me as we make those, and make sure to check out that playlist below that I'm going to have linked in the description box. So first we're going to start with the Who Hash. I'll have a recipe linked in the description box for you for this. I used it kind of as a guide. I didn't really do exactly what the recipe said because I didn't have any cooked potatoes. So you see me dicing these potatoes so that I can use that for the hash. Typically a hash really is like leftover, vegetables and potatoes and meats and things like that that you might use up and make a hash for. But this time I didn't have any cooked potatoes, so I thought I would just dice my own and cook them for this, so that worked out well. And like I said, I'll post that in the description box, so you can definitely use that to go by as well. This was a really good recipe. Like, I had never made anything like this before. I don't really cook a whole lot. This actually called for breakfast sausage, like pork sausage, and I don't really use that a lot in anything besides, like, things like those sausage and cheese muffins that I made and stuff like that. But I was really impressed with how much flavor this had, and it was just so very good. While I'm finishing up these potatoes, I just want to remind you to make sure to check out all of the videos that are being posted in this collab. It's going to be so much fun. Christmas movies are always fun to watch this time of year, and I'm so excited to see all the different videos and how everybody relates recipes to their favorite Christmas movies and such. So definitely make sure to check those out. So now I've got some sausage patties that I'm going to cook up in the cast iron skillet here, and these are just regular breakfast frozen sausage patties. I use this meat chopper thingy, whatever you want to call it, and I love that thing. Oh my goodness, like, it is so handy. I have not had one until recently, and I highly recommend it. It was like $4 at Walmart, so super cheap and super really handy. So I'm just getting this all browned up, and we're going to use that in the hash. Once it's cooked, I'm going to transfer it to a plate lined with a paper towel just to kind of soak up any extra grease, even though I guess we're going to use some of that grease to fry the potatoes in too. But there's really not a lot of grease in this sausage. It's made by, let's see, I think it's Swaggerty's. It's natural. It has like no MSG and stuff, so it really doesn't tend to have a whole lot of grease in it anyways. So I'm getting a green pepper. I had actually did some prep work the day before and getting some other things cut up, but I did not remember to cut the pepper up, so I'm just getting that diced up. The recipe called for onion, carrots, green pepper, potatoes, but really you could use whatever you wanted to put in here. Like, I actually end up adding some celery because I'd had some of that cut up too. So definitely make, a hash your own recipe, like to your liking, the things you'd like to put in it. There's all kinds of different ways you can use it. It's really just a way to use up leftovers, so, and reinvent them into something a little bit different. So definitely a good use of things that you might have in your refrigerator to use up. And now that I'm thinking about it, as a Christmas recipe, it would be really fun to use red and green pepper in this too. So I didn't think about that at the time. Of course, the carrot kind of gives that little orangey look to it, but red definitely would have been fun for that too. So I've just got some olive oil I'm adding. Like I said, that didn't produce a lot of grease from cooking the sausage, so I've got some olive oil I added in. I'm just adding in my cubed potatoes. I was trying to be careful and not overfill the pan too much because I knew I had several veggies to go in there, and I didn't want to end up having too much in the pan. So I'm sprinkling some diced carrots on here, and then I'm also going to add a little more oil because, like I said, I really was just kind of eyeballing it and kind of seeing how much I might need and that type of thing. I might have could have used a little more even after it kind of stuck on the bottom a little bit, and then I've got the green pepper going in as well. And next I'm going to be adding some celery and then some diced onions. Now, since the potatoes and carrots were not cooked beforehand, I went ahead and kind of almost tried to steam this a little. I covered it with some foil and let it kind of cook for just a little bit to try to get those. You want the carrots and the potatoes to be kind of tender, starting to be done. We're adding that sausage back in there. We're just going to kind of let this all cook together for a little bit. And like I said, I'll cover that. I can't remember if I got a shot of that or not. So if I didn't, just know that I did cover that for a little bit and kind of steam those potatoes and carrots done. Now you could also boil those beforehand if you wanted to, and then add them too. So it's really depending on how you'd like to do it. But this is after I've taken that foil off and they're ready. You know, it's ready to go. It's completely done at that point. And then I'm going to fry an egg to top it with. I thought that would seem like it would just go together. I saw some recipes where hash was served with eggs on top. And so I'm just frying an egg to place on top of the hash. And I've showed this in a previous video, but I put a little water in the pan and kind of almost steam the egg until, you know, it's done to my liking. So that works really well for me. That way the whites doesn't get scorched for me. So this is the finished product. Here's our Who hash. This was absolutely delicious. It had so much flavor. I cannot recommend it enough. Like I said, I'll link that recipe in the description below. I highly recommend you try it. It was so very good. So next we have our Grinch cookies. These are such a fun thing for kids, for anybody. Maybe make a batch of these and then, you know, watch the Grinch. It's so much fun to have something like this. It's just a very, anytime you put food coloring in food, it always tends to make it a little more fun. So I've got 2 sticks of butter going in here that have been softened. And then I also have 1 2/3 cup of sugar. We're just going to cream that together until it's all blended together and light and fluffy. And then once that gets to that consistency, we're going to add in 2 large eggs, and you're going to do that one at a time. And the biggest thing to remember when you do anything like this in a mixer, especially if you're using a stand mixer, just since you can't move around that paddle, is to make sure you scrape down the sides, and you'll see me do that here in a little bit too. So you do those eggs one at a time, and then you're going to beat well after each egg to get them good and mixed in. Once we get both of those eggs blended in there, I'm just going to make sure and take the time to scrape down those sides and let it mix a little more to get everything good and mixed together. Like I mentioned earlier, just you definitely want to do that when it starts sticking to the sides like that, and make sure that everything gets combined well. So we've got this last egg going in here. We'll get that one all mixed in, and then after that we're going to add a couple of other ingredients in there. You're going to need some green food coloring and some vanilla extract. So I've got 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. Now the recipe for the green food coloring calls for 3 to 5 drops. I will say that that was not enough for me to get the desired color. I had made these before and I went a little light on the green food coloring, and they ended up turning a much paler green. I was much more happy with the green they turned this time because I added some extra food dye than I did last time. So definitely kind of watch it, and that's what I keep doing. You'll see me just start putting more in, and I'm just keeping an eye on that color until I kind of look for something that's like a Grinchy green. And once I saw that, I was like, okay, I'm gonna stop there, and that should turn out well. So, because you still have to add your flour and everything to this, and that's going to water down that color just a little bit as well, So I'm just scraping everything down, getting the flour ready to go. So I've got in that green bowl, I have some cornstarch, baking powder, baking soda, and salt. I'm just going to mix that into the flour and mix that really well. And then we're going to start adding that in batches to our mixture. So when you add it in together in batches, it kind of helps it combine better instead of getting kind of, you might have more flour in one spot or something like that. So as you add it in smaller batches like that, it kind of helps everything to combine well and get it to the, the consistency of the mixture that you need. And that way everything gets mixed well together. So I'm just adding the rest of that flour mixture in there. Once we get this all mixed together, we're going to just stir in 1.5 cups of red and green M&Ms. So I will say that I kind of got a little concerned because it's been a little while since I made these, and it seemed like it was really thick, so I did get a little worried, and I thought, I'm not sure if that's too thick or not, but thankfully it was not. And definitely remember, as you're blending this, to get, everything kind of scraped down every so often as you need to. And then you may need to blend a little more as you go along. Just kind of keep an eye, make sure you don't see any bits of flour or anything like that, and make sure everything's combined well. So now that I've gotten this mixture all combined, I'm going to stir in 1.5 cups of red and green M&Ms. And you definitely want to stir this in, because if you put it in there with the mixer, it could bust the M&Ms up, and you definitely want them to retain, their color and their shape and everything, because they look really cute in the cookies when they get done. So like I said, I'm just getting these combined and getting that all in there. I wanted to make sure that, I got them as equally distributed as I could. Now you can also, at the end, and you'll see when they get done, you can put a few more in there while they're warm, just to kind of have some right up front, on the top, to make them look really pretty. But I have to say, for whatever reason, this batch really turned out better about showing the M&Ms than the last batch I did. Now you're just going to cover this, put that in the refrigerator for 30 minutes, and then you're ready to scoop out your cookies. And so just use whatever size scoop you want. The instructions mentioned 1.5 tablespoon size scoop. I'm not really sure what size this is, but this worked well. It actually made pretty decent sized cookies, and I think the last time I made them smaller, so you definitely could, vary that however you'd like to make them. And you're just, I went ahead and lined this with parchment paper. That makes cleanup so much easier, so I highly recommend that. And once we get these all scooped out, we're going to bake them in a 350 degree oven. The time said 11 to 13 minutes. I think because I made mine probably bigger than what it actually called for, it took mine a little longer to get done. So, and obviously ovens are different, so just use your best judgment. I would start checking them around 11 minutes and then seeing how they look. It is kind of hard to tell on these just because they're green, so you don't see like the browning as good, but you can see some. So we've got some done here. I'm pretty sure that this made about 24 cookies with the size scoop I used. Now obviously if you used a little smaller scoop, then you could get more out of it too. And you saw me there just placing a few little M&Ms just to kind of make them look pretty, on the top, and so they have extra color and not buried kind of into the cookie. So I just let these cool, and then I put them on a platter. These are so adorable. Like, I love these cookies. They're very good. They're tasty, but they're also just so cute and Christmassy and festive, and definitely remind you of the Grinch. So I highly recommend this recipe as well. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I'd appreciate it if you give it a thumbs up, and make sure to hit that notification bell and hit subscribe if you haven't already, so you don't miss out on any more yummy videos. And don't forget to check out that playlist link below. I'll see you in the next one.